Good day everyone. I'm David, the moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone for today's webinar, which is ICD-10 coding updates effective October 1, 2023. I would now like to introduce our presenter for today, Sharon Lidwin. Sharon Lidwin, RN, PSHS, MHA, HCSD, COQS, has had an extensive career in home health, starting as a field nurse in 1985. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Sharon.
Thanks, David. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me for this extremely boring webinar. There's no way to liven up the coding updates. And I titled it for hospice and home health. These coding updates are ICD-10, so any healthcare facility that uses ICD-10 codes, that's who this applies to. So every year, the codes start on October 1st. That's when they're effective, but it actually is for the fiscal year that's upcoming. So this is fiscal year 2024 ICD-10 CM code set. And we have 395 new codes. 395 new ones are actually more specific codes. And so then, of course, some deletions and revisions and tabular changes. But, there aren't changes in every section. Chapter 12, diseases of skin and sub-Q tissue, the L chapter that we use so much, pressure ulcers, stasis ulcers, and on and on. There are no changes in that this year, so that's very nice. There are multiple changes in pregnancy and postpartum care. So the diagnosis codes include the tabular list and the alpha list. So these are effective October 1st. Which unbelievably is almost here. And so for those of you in home health, 30-day billing periods, you have to remember that the 30-day claims that start September 2nd are going to need the new codes. All right, so first the guidelines. There aren't a lot of guideline changes. Sepsis due to a post-procedural infection, T8144 to 43. Or the O code is for obstetrical procedure. Screening for COVID-19. During the PHE, we were told in home health and hospice never to use the new Z1152 code, which is Encounter for Screening for COVID. We'll use the Z1152 instead of the Z2822. Now, there are always the list of the exceptions where you don't have to have a patient's provider, meaning doctor. So these are the lists that have been there every year. Something gets added or changed in it. The guideline changes for coma. The code R4020, unspecified coma, should be assigned when the underlying cause of the coma is not known. Admission for chemo, immunotherapy, radiation therapy. The only thing that's changed here is the word solely was changed to chiefly. So now we'll get into chapter 1, which is A00 to B99, and that's certain infectious and parasitic diseases. Chapter 2 is neoplasms, C00 to D49. Chapter 3. Diseases of the blood and blood-forming organs and certain disorders involving the immune mechanism, D50 to D89. Chapter 4, so endocrine, nutritional, and metabolic diseases, E00 to E89. Okay, Chapter 5 is the F01 to F99. Mental, behavioral, and neurodevelopmental disorders. Chapter 6, this is the nervous system, the G chapter, which we've already seen the E stuff move to the G, G00 to G99. G20, Parkinson's disease, has been expanded to add off episodes. Chapter 7 and 8, we don't have anything for the H60 to 895 on the ear and mastoid. The eye and adnexa is H00 to H59, and a lot of additions through here for laterality. Chapter 9, diseases of the circulatory system, I00, I99, I20.8, other forms of angina pectoris, I47.1, supraventricular tach, has 3 new codes. Okay, venous insufficiency, I-87.2. Chapter 10, diseases of the respiratory system, J00 to J99. Okay, so now here we go. This is the J1561, pneumonia due to Acinetobacter baumannii. So J44.89, other specified COPD. J4A, chronic lung allograft dysfunction. J68.4, chronic respiratory conditions due to chemicals, gases, fumes, and vapors. Chapter 11, digestive system, K00 to K95. I see I had 17 new codes here. K35.20, acute appendicitis with generalized peritonitis without abscess. Now, K63.89, K68, disorders of retroperitoneum, K90.82, short bowel syndrome, short gut syndrome. Yay, no changes in Chapter 12, the skin and sub-Q L chapters. Chapter 13, M00 to M99, that's diseases of the MS and connective tissue. M97, periprosthetic fractures. Chapter 14, diseases of the GU system, N00 to N99. We're also going to go fast through this. Chapter 15, pregnancy, childbirth, and periperium. The 00009A, O90.4, postpartum acute kidney failure. Chapter 16, the P00 to P96, and this is for the perinatal period, did not have any changes. 17 is the congenital malformations and deformations, chromosomal abnormalities, Q00 to Q99. And then they expanded Q75.0, craniosynostosis. All right, Chapter 18 is our R chapter, signs and symptoms, abnormal labs, not elsewhere classified. R19, this is injury, poisoning, and certain other consequences of external causes. Now we're to Chapter 20, V00 to Y99. And the X, I forget about the X, had so many changes and additions. Y07, perpetrator of assault, maltreatment, and neglect. This has been expanded a lot. Our last chapter, but Z, you know, that has a lot that's very pertinent to home health and hospice. Factors influencing health status and contact with health services, Z00 to Z99. Okay, so you sat through that whole thing. So anyhow, this is the end. And I just want to thank you all for being with me today. So thanks a lot.
And thank you so much, Sharon. That does conclude the session for today. Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now. Have a
Thanks.
great day ahead.
You too. Bye.